Hello everyone again. So here we're going to talk about the second part of the presentation. So it will be data QQC, the next stage, and the plan for this year. Before we talk about that, a couple of things we need to consider for planning the future, like this here. So as I mentioned earlier in the first presentation, so we need to consider how to keep up with the growth of the network and also the data submission we're seeing in the last couple of years. And we need to do so while maintaining all the data service we're providing. So we cannot just pause and take a year to do something. The third part is we heard from a lot of community about to enable people to review the QQC result themselves and maybe getting an assessment more quickly. We are trying to consider this in our future QQC pipeline. Another thing we're thinking is we need to gather all the users' feedback while we are developing the future QQC. That's what we are doing, what we're planning this summer. And for sure, we need to refine a lot of the check module we are doing for the last couple of years. And we are redefining some of the rules for passing and warning and such that. And the last, we need to do all of this in a scalable workflow. So to enable us to adding new check and for the future. So what does the plan look like? Like a diagram show here. This is where we are right now. It's doing good, but it's not efficient enough. We certainly need to scale up. So we are planning this to launch the phase one of the data QQC this summer. The goal is to enable self-review for the QQC, especially for the trained user. We are targeting core side, neon side, or this returning side, but also we are looking for volunteer side with some limitation about how many sites we can host. And the idea here will be try to provide some training, and we're adding some summary statistics like we mentioned in the first part of the presentation, plus all the figure we're providing right now, and hope with all of this, and we can let the trained user be able to self-review their QQC in a near real-time way. And we also take this chance, we're going to take this chance to work with you, try to understand how you use all this statistic and the figure to do a QQC, and use this to feedback when we're developing our next step of the QQC report. We're also taking this chance to re-evaluate and refine some of the check module we're using right now. The phase two, I think it's happening sometime next year, and the goal is to have an automatic data QQC report, and it will be sent to most of the returning site by then. And we're hoping to have a more human readable, friendly QQC report back by then. And of course, we need to develop and implement some of the new check module we are planning, as I mentioned in the first part of the presentation. So how we get there, just talk about the work, some of the workflow here. Try to get back to this one. So this is the current workflow of the data QQC behind the scene, as I mentioned earlier, right? So the file, once passed the format QQC, get combined and run the QQC module. And someone from our team need to review the result and decided if the data submission can be passed for base generation or need to be returned to the site team. For phase one, this is happening this summer. This is a workflow will look like. All the purple one we are adding to the workflow here, including we are hosting a training webinar. We are going to teach you how to self-review the QQC result. Then we are adding some of the new summary statistics we just showed in the first part of the presentation during here. So this will be generated along with the QQC run. Once this is finished, and there's a logic here will be sending a report to the site they are participating in this process. So as I mentioned earlier, this will be opt-in. So we're going to looking for volunteer to join this process about self-review. So at the phase 1, it's only the site now waiting to participate. We're seeing this report in the QAQC process. Once you receive this QAQC report, and I'm going to show you later, and you have a chance to review the result and decide if there's some action need to be taken, I need to return. So you're going to work on something and try to resubmit a new version of data quickly. Or maybe everything looks fine, you just pass it to back to our workflow. So at this stage, one of our people from the team was still reviewing the result here and decided if this is passing to the base production. And this just show you an example how the summary statistic will look like. We talked this a little bit in the first part of the presentation, but this is just try to give you an idea about how it might look like. So for example, this is a one from timestamp alignment check. And this is the statistic we are talking about, right? So we're doing the cross correlation between the potential incoming radiation and the major radiation. And this is a lag between these two. We also try to identify the occasion we have you have a radiation larger exceeding the potential incoming, and this is percentage. And hopefully by the training, you'll be able to know, okay, this is probably something going on. You need to take a look, and this is my worth of looking too. So you follow the link here to the figure we're providing, and take a look of the figure and decided if this is a real issue or maybe this is just a false alarm, like that. And this is another example coming from the physical range check. Again, this is a table for each of the variable, each of the year, how many of the point being flagged outside of the expected range, right? So by taking a look of the figure, the table, you might be able to tell, okay, this and this variable, you probably want to take a look and see if this is kind of okay, or maybe there's something going on with this, this variable, you need to take some action. And then this would be the QAQC email look like. We showed you earlier about the QAQC email you're receiving right now. And this would be how the email will look like if you participate in this process. And the purple one, again, it will be the new feature we're adding. So here, instead of just a human readable language about what issue it is, we're going to just send you a link to each of the summary statistic from each of the check here. Then we're providing a link to the training material about explaining how to read this and how to justify and how to define which one is the issue or not, okay? And this is the timeline look like for this year to maybe fall. So from now on to March, we're looking for people volunteer and to participate in this process. We're going to send out an email later, so look out for the email invitation. And second, we are going to host a training webinar somewhere in June, July, and time to determine later. And then we hope by then you'll prepare your data and plan your data as you plan to, submit your data as you plan to. Then you'll receive the QAQC email like I just showed you on the last slide and try to do a self-review using the information provided. And at the same time, well, we hope not just doing this self-review, but also we're hoping you can participate in some of the user interview here. So one of us will be reaching out to you and ask you maybe to schedule a one-on-one meeting to understand how difficult and how hard it would be to do the self-review and what is missing for you to do your job. And last is September, we are planning to host a re-evaluate webinar. So we are bringing everyone back and to talk about the process and what is going well and what is going wrong, and then what is the next stage we're planning we should be doing for the next stage. So the green one is what to expect if you're participating in this process, right? First, you need to be attending the training and the re-evaluating webinar, of course. Second is you need to submit your data during this period of time. I think it will be June, somewhere to September. at least once, where hopefully will be, because most of will be returning size. So I was thinking about just adding a new quarter of data, or maybe adding a new year of data, then do a self-review with the email summary statistic we're providing. Last is we're looking for a part. We're asking you to participate in some of the user interview here. You'll be 1 to 2 times and 1 to 2 hours per section, and you'll be contacted by one of our team about how this will look like. Just to give you an idea about the future, this will be the phase 2. We're looking for this, what's going to happen next year. Just a word of caution, this is still a draft plan, and some of this might need to revise or maybe be fine-tuned, depends on how the first phase running this summer. Okay, but this is the future we're looking to. Again, purple one is the new feature we're adding. So the first is we're adding more rule and the logic about deciding each of the module, whether it's passing or QQC's fail, attention need to be taken or something like that. So we're adding some of the rule here while we're running the QQC module. And the second part will be in the QQC report, we're adding an additional level of the explanation. So it'll be more human readable, friendly language about and telling you about which of the issue and what is a possible cause of the issue, and maybe the potential action to be taken for each of the issue here. And this will be sent out automatically. And as I mentioned earlier, I think at this stage, we're looking for just the majority of the site will be going through this process. So without any very complex issue, maybe you have, this is a returning site, you have some experience about submitting your data already, you know what's going on about the QQC, you'll get an automatic email directly. And only a small portion of site will go through this process. They're going to review by the end. There'll be new site, or maybe the submission with a very complicated issue and needs some human attention, but will go through this route. The majority of the submission will go through this route actually. So you'll have a chance to look at your data, and hopefully by when you get to this stage, most of the complicated issue is being resolved. So there might be some minor issue need human attention. That's it. And if everything looks fine, and the file will be moving forward, just prepared to be in the next base generation. We won't take another review of this. And this is the ideal future we're looking for. And certainly we need a lot of exercise and a lot of preparation before we get there. But by doing so, we're hoping this will facilitate or also speed up some of the QAQC process we're talking about. And this is important. As I mentioned earlier, the Flux and metadata workflow doesn't stop at the base. We're still working to FluxNet product. We need faster, maybe a quicker turnaround time in order to do that in a good way. So this is the last slide, and for today's workshop, we are looking for your feedback, and especially what do you think about this self-review process. Essentially, a lot of the new effort will be on your burden, and we'd like to hear your feedback and your idea about that. And also, we would like to know about what's missing or potentially what can be added to the QQC pipeline in order to make things happen faster or in a better way. And with that, I would close my presentation. Then we can talk about what people think about this plan. Okay.